On Point with Craig's Investment Partners.
The information provided here is general in nature. It's not financial advice. It doesn't take into account your financial situation, objectives, goals, or risk tolerance. All investments are subject to risks and none are guaranteed. So before you make any investment decisions, we recommend you contact an investment advisor. For more information about our services in that regard, you can go to our website, which is craigsip.com. Welcome to On Point. I'm Mark Lister, Investment Director at Craig's Investment Partners, and I'll be talking about a range of topics, including economics, portfolio strategy, investor education, and anything else that's happening out there in financial markets. This month, August, is Money Month, which is an annual public awareness campaign that is run by the Retirement Commission. That's the government-funded organisation behind the Sorted website, which many of you may have used or even investigated. It's a great resource that is dedicated to helping everyday New Zealanders get ahead financially. Now, Money Month is all about encouraging people to talk more openly about money, which will help all of us improve our financial well-being. Financial literacy isn't fantastic here in New Zealand, so I think any initiative that gets us talking about it definitely deserves a plug and a bit of attention. Now, when I think back to some of those money tips that I wish someone had given me 30 years ago, there are plenty of examples I can think of. However, for the purposes of this episode, I thought I would do my best to boil it down to just 3 key pieces of advice. So here they are. Number 1, spend less than you earn. Now, that sounds really simple, and it is, but plenty of people manage to get it wrong. Whether you're a company, a business, a government, or an individual, it's pretty hard to get yourself into too much trouble if you simply spend less than what you're bringing in. Now, I know that's easier said than done because a lot of people and a lot of households are under immense pressure with their finances and their budgeting these days. But if you do find yourself reliant on the overdraft or the credit card, it's a good opportunity to revisit your outgoings and ruthlessly cut some of those expenses you can live without. There will be some things that you're buying or spending money on each week or every fortnight or every month that you simply won't need as much as you might think. So take another look and see if you can reduce those costs. Secondly, never borrow money to buy depreciating assets. Debt can be a great tool to build long-term wealth, but only when it's used responsibly and wisely, and when it's used to invest or buy things that will rise in value. So using borrowed money for a house, a business, an investment, or your education, things like that, that's a good, sensible use of debt that will pay off. But using debt or borrowing to buy a new phone, the latest TV, or a pair of shoes that you really want, that is not a smart use of debt. You'll end up paying much more than the sticker price in many cases, and the value of what you've purchased will be in decline from the moment you swipe that credit card. So in just about every instance, if you have to borrow money for it, then you probably can't afford it. Thirdly, and this is probably one that's really close to my heart, and it is one of the most important pieces of advice you can ever give a child or a young adult, or anyone, even someone in middle age, it still makes sense. Start saving or investing as early as you can, because when it comes to investing, there is nothing more powerful than time. Think about someone who started saving just $20 a week at age 45 and assume they earned an average return of about 7% per annum, which is probably quite achievable, quite middle of the road. They would have a little more than $45,000 2 decades later when they turn 65. And more than half of that would have been gained purely because of the returns that they'd earned, not because of that $20 a week that they're putting aside. However, if that person had started just a decade earlier at 35, the grand total would jump to $106,000, and the investment returns component would represent more than $75,000. That's more than 70% of your total. Only 30% of that total is from money that you've put in. The other 70% is because of the returns that you've earned along the way. So what you can see quite clearly from those very basic maths, then you could work this out on a spreadsheet or on a calculator, or there's loads of websites, including the Sorted one, that will help you do those sorts of calculations, which might put this in perspective. But what you can see is that as we bring forward that start date, the results increase dramatically, and that's the power of compounding returns. If that person, that fictional person, not only started at 45, not at 35, but at 25, that measly $20 a week would be worth a whopping $229,000 at age 65. And the investment return component would be more than $187,000, which is more than 80% of that nest egg. So the earlier you start, the better off you'll be. Saving for retirement isn't a top priority for most young people, and that's understandable. However, for those that can grasp that concept early, get their heads around it, and commit to a regular investment plan, there are some staggering benefits to be enjoyed down the track. Now, not everyone has the luxury of being able to follow this sort of advice. We're very aware of that. There are all kinds of reasons why people end up in unfortunate financial situations. Things can easily spiral out of control, and sometimes no amount of being frugal can dig people out of those holes that they find themselves in, especially when they become quite indebted. But Money Month is a great excuse to talk about some of these issues, some of these challenges, and some of these opportunities. Not that we should need an excuse. These are things we should be discussing and thinking about and helping people learn about all year round. But hopefully this ongoing conversation will help improve financial literacy and arm younger people, not just younger people, all people, but I think it's really important for younger people because they've got time on their side, and the decisions they make can have a huge impact on their financial future. So hopefully that is useful. Hopefully that does help us consider a few basic but really important concepts to make your financial journey a little bit smoother. Thanks for listening.
For more insights, visit craigsip.com.